Most people think wealth disappears slowly. A coffee here, a vacation there, maybe too much takeout. But the biggest wealth killer for most Americans is sitting right outside their house. And the scary part, most people don't even see it happening because society trained us to believe this expense is normal. Actually, successful. You work hard, you get a nicer car. That's the deal. And honestly, it feels good. People notice. Friends compliment you. Neighbors respect you. But here's what almost nobody talks about. Some people are driving luxury cars while quietly destroying their financial future. Meanwhile, other people driving older Hondas and Toyotas are building real wealth in the background. And the difference between those two lives over 10 or 15 years can literally become hundreds of thousands of dollars. Not because one person earns more, but because one expense quietly compounds against you every single month. Payments, insurance, gas, repairs, depreciation. Most people only see the monthly payment. They never see the full machine draining their money. And once you understand how this really works, you start looking at cars completely differently. For most people, buying a nicer car feels like progress. You get a raise, you upgrade the car. You get promoted, you upgrade again. And honestly, it makes sense why people think this way. Cars are emotional. They're visible. People don't see your investment account. They don't see your emergency fund. They don't see your retirement savings. But they do see what you drive. And society rewards that. Someone pulls into the parking lot with a brand new luxury SUV, and immediately people assume they must be doing well. That's why monthly car payments have become so normalized. $1,000 monthly payment today barely shocks people anymore. In fact, many people expect it because modern culture quietly teaches us something dangerous. If you can afford the payment, you can afford the car. But that's where the problem starts, because the monthly payment is only a tiny piece of the real cost. What most people never calculate is depreciation, insurance, fuel, maintenance, taxes, registration, repairs, and interest. And when you add all of it together, that dream car starts acting more like a wealth vacuum. But here's why this trap is so powerful. The pain feels small in the beginning. It's just only a few hundred more per month, then a little more insurance, then higher gas costs, then maintenance. And slowly, your income starts getting eaten alive by something sitting in your driveway. That's why so many high-income people still feel financially stuck. Not because they earn too little, but because their lifestyle quietly expanded faster than their wealth. Here's the part most people never realize. The real danger of expensive cars is not the car itself. It's the invisible chain reaction that comes with it. Because once you buy a car that stretches your budget, everything around your financial life gets tighter. Your savings slow down, your investing slows down, your flexibility disappears. And suddenly, small life problems start feeling huge. A repair bill becomes stressful. A job loss becomes terrifying. An emergency feels like a crisis. But nobody notices this in the beginning because cars are sneaky expenses. The payment gets all the attention, while the hidden costs quietly pile up in the background. And one of the biggest hidden costs of all is depreciation, which is really just a fancy way of saying your car loses value incredibly fast. The moment a brand new car leaves the dealership, thousands of dollars can disappear instantly, not over years, immediately. And most people accept this without thinking twice. Imagine investing $50,000 into something, knowing ahead of time it will probably be worth less every single year. Most people would never do that with stocks, but with cars, society treats it like normal behavior. And this changes everything, because while your car is losing value, that same money could have been growing, compounding, investing, creating freedom. That's the opportunity cost nobody talks about. Every dollar tied into an oversized car payment is a dollar no longer working for your future. And the craziest part? Many people buy expensive cars hoping to feel financially successful, while the car itself is the exact thing slowing down their ability to actually build wealth. That's the trap. The car looks rich, but the system behind it quietly keeps people financially fragile. So why do smart people keep falling into this trap? Why do people making good money still end up stressed about bills? Because cars are rarely logical purchases. They're emotional purchases, and advertisers understand this perfectly. Car commercials never sell transportation. They sell identity, freedom, status, power, success. They make you feel like your life changes the moment you sit behind the wheel. And honestly, for a little while, it does feel that way. You feel accomplished. You feel like all your hard work finally paid off. People notice you differently. Friends compliment you. Coworkers ask questions. There's a small emotional rush that comes with driving something impressive. But here's the dangerous part. That feeling fades surprisingly fast. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation, which basically means humans get used to upgrades very quickly. The car that felt exciting for the first 2 months eventually just becomes your car. But the payment stays, the insurance stays, the stress stays. And this is where lifestyle inflation quietly takes over. Because once people adjust to a more expensive lifestyle, it becomes very hard psychologically to go backward. Someone driving a luxury SUV often feels trapped maintaining that image, even if financially it's hurting them. And social media makes this even worse. Everywhere you look, people seem richer than they really are. Luxury cars, big houses, expensive vacations. But what you usually don't see is the debt underneath it. A lot of people are not building wealth, they're renting the appearance of wealth. And there's a massive difference between those two things. Real wealthy people often care more about cash flow, investments, flexibility, freedom, low stress, not constant upgrades. In fact, many millionaires drive surprisingly normal cars because they understand something most people miss. Looking wealthy and actually being wealthy are completely different games. One is about impressing strangers. The other is about building a life that feels secure when nobody is watching. And once you understand that psychologically, you stop asking what car looks successful, and you start asking what financial system actually gives me freedom. So let's simplify this whole idea. Because the biggest mistake people make with cars is thinking about the purchase price only. But a car is not just a purchase, it's a system. And once you see that system clearly, you understand why cars quietly destroy wealth for so many people. Think of it like a bucket with holes in the bottom. Most people look at the outside of the bucket, the shiny paint, the leather seats, the badge on the front. But financially, money is leaking out from 5 different holes at the exact same time. First, depreciation. The car loses value every single year whether you drive it or not. Second, interest payments. If the car is financed, the bank makes money before you do. Third, fuel. Gas prices rise, commutes get longer, and suddenly transportation becomes a monthly subscription. Fourth, insurance and maintenance. The newer and more expensive the car, the more expensive it usually becomes to protect and repair. And fifth, the biggest hidden leak of all, opportunity cost. Because money tied into a car payment is money not building your future. And this is where the math becomes scary. Let's say someone spends $900 monthly payment, $250 insurance, $250 gas, maintenance and repairs on top. That's easily over $15,000 a year disappearing into transportation. Now imagine investing even half of that consistently for 10 or 15 years. That money could potentially grow into hundreds of thousands of dollars. And this is why wealthy people often think differently about cars. Average consumers ask, how much does this car cost per month? Wealthy people ask, what is this costing my future? Huge difference. because one mindset focuses on surviving the payment, the other focuses on building freedom. And this doesn't mean you can never enjoy cars. That's not the point. The point is understanding the trade-off. Every financial decision either builds your future or quietly steals from it. And cars become dangerous when people confuse emotional excitement with long-term financial success. That's why the goal is not buying the cheapest car possible. The goal is building a transportation system that supports your wealth instead of competing against it. This is where everything starts falling apart for most people. Not because they're lazy, not because they're stupid, but because modern car culture quietly pushes people into financial decisions they can't comfortably sustain. And the first trap is focusing only on the monthly payment. Dealerships understand this psychology extremely well. That's why they rarely ask, "Can you truly afford this car?" Instead, they ask, "What monthly payment are you comfortable with?" Because once people think monthly, they stop thinking total cost. A $70,000 car suddenly feels affordable when stretched across 7 years. 7 years! Think about that. Many people are still paying for a car long after the excitement of owning it disappeared. And during those years, life still happens. Rent increases, kids happen, medical bills happen, layoffs happen, but the car payment never stops. And this creates financial fragility. The second reason people fail is upgrading too often. A lot of people never truly own their cars. They just keep rolling debt forward. Trade in one car, add the remaining balance into the next loan, upgrade again, repeat. And slowly, they become trapped in a permanent car payment cycle, which is exactly what destroys long-term wealth building. Because investing requires consistency, but expensive lifestyles destroy consistency. The third trap is commuting, and this one is massively underestimated. Some people spend 45 minutes driving to work, an hour in traffic, sometimes 2 hours every single day. That means more fuel, more maintenance, more depreciation, more stress, and less time. And time matters too, because long commutes drain energy. People come home exhausted. They spend more impulsively. They exercise less. They feel burned out faster. So the car doesn't only cost money. Sometimes it quietly costs quality of life. And then there's the emotional investing trap. People often buy cars during emotional highs, new job, promotion, bonus, social pressure, wanting to finally enjoy life. But emotions make expensive decisions feel temporary, while the financial consequences become long-term. And this is the sad part. Many people making 6 figures today still live paycheck to paycheck, not because they don't earn enough, but because every raise gets converted into higher lifestyle costs instead of stronger financial systems. That's the difference most people never notice until it's too late. Let's compare 2 people. Same age, same city, same income. And watch how one decision quietly changes their entire financial future. At 30 years old, Raj and Daniel were both making around $85,000 a year. Both hardworking, both ambitious, both finally starting to feel financially successful, and both wanted to reward themselves. Raj decided to buy a brand new luxury SUV. Beautiful car, leather interior, big screen, premium sound system. The monthly payment was high, but he told himself, "I work hard, I deserve this." And honestly, everyone around him loved it. Friends complimented him constantly. Coworkers noticed immediately. Everywhere he went, the car became part of his identity. Meanwhile, Daniel made a much less exciting decision. He bought a reliable used Toyota that was about 4 years old. Nothing flashy, no one stopped to admire it. Nobody asked questions about it. In fact, it was kind of boring. But Daniel had one rule. He never wanted his car payment to compete with his future investments. So every month, instead of spending hundreds extra on luxury upgrades, he automatically invested the difference. At first, Raj looked far more successful. Better car, better image, more status. But fast forward 10 years and the picture completely changed. Raj had upgraded cars twice. His insurance stayed expensive, his payments stayed high, and most of his raises quietly disappeared into lifestyle inflation. Financially, he still felt pressure. Meanwhile, Daniel's investments had been compounding quietly in the background for an entire decade. And this is the crazy part. The difference between them wasn't only the car payment itself. It was everything connected to it. Lower insurance, lower repairs, lower stress, more flexibility, more investing consistency. One system consumed cash every month. The other system created ownership. And by 40 years old, Daniel had something Raj didn't: options. The ability to work less aggressively, the ability to survive emergencies comfortably, the ability to think long-term instead of paycheck to paycheck. And that's the part people miss about wealth. Real wealth often looks boring in the beginning, because while one person is buying appearances, the other person is quietly buying freedom.
So what's the solution here? Because this video is not saying never enjoy your money, and it's definitely not saying you must drive a broken down car forever. The real goal is building a transportation system that supports your financial life instead of damaging it. And usually, that comes down to a few simple principles. First, buy less car than your ego wants. That single decision alone can save you tens of thousands of dollars over time. A reliable used car that's 3 to 5 years old is often the sweet spot. Most of the major depreciation already happened, but the car is still dependable. Second, keep cars longer. One of the most expensive habits financially is constantly upgrading, because every upgrade restarts the cycle. New loan, higher insurance, fresh depreciation. Meanwhile, keeping a reliable car for extra years can dramatically increase your investing power. Third, shop your insurance every single year. Most people set up insurance once, then never think about it again. But companies compete aggressively for customers. A few phone calls could save hundreds, sometimes thousands, over time. Fourth, reduce unnecessary driving if possible. Living closer to work, working remotely, or even combining errands efficiently can save more money than people realize. Less fuel, less maintenance, less stress, less time wasted. And finally, invest the savings automatically. This is the important part, because if you simply spend the extra money somewhere else, nothing changes. But if those savings consistently flow into investments, retirement accounts, or assets that grow, the entire direction of your financial future changes. That's how small decisions quietly become massive advantages over time.
Now picture two futures. Two people. Same salary, same starting point, but completely different financial lives 20 years later. The first person spends most of their adult life chasing upgrades. Every few years, new car, bigger payment, higher lifestyle. From the outside, their life looks impressive. Luxury SUV in the driveway, nice wheels, expensive image. But underneath it all, there's pressure. Pressure to keep earning. Pressure to maintain the lifestyle. Pressure to keep the payments going. A job loss feels dangerous. An emergency feels disruptive. Retirement keeps getting delayed, because their financial system depends on constant income just to survive. Now compare that to the second person. They still enjoy life, they still own a reliable car, but instead of constantly upgrading appearances, they focused on building assets quietly in the background. Investments grew, debt stayed manageable, expenses stayed controlled. And over time, their life became calmer. Less stress, more flexibility, more freedom to make choices. That's the real difference. One person built a lifestyle that looked wealthy, the other built a system that actually created wealth. And eventually, the emotional gap becomes enormous, because financial peace feels very different from financial performance. One life looks rich for strangers. The other feels secure for the person actually living it.
So at the end of the day, cars are not the enemy. The real danger is buying things that quietly steal your future while making you feel successful in the present. And that's why this wealth killer is so hard to notice, because society celebrates it. People congratulate you for the upgrade. Nobody congratulates you for lowering your expenses, investing consistently, avoiding unnecessary debt, building financial stability. But those boring decisions are usually the ones creating real freedom later in life. And this is important to remember. Wealth is not built through one giant decision. It's usually built through smaller decisions repeated consistently over many years. A slightly cheaper car, a smaller payment, a longer ownership period, a little more investing, a little less lifestyle inflation. Individually, those choices don't feel dramatic, but compounded over 10, 20, or 30 years, they can completely change your future. Because real wealth is not about impressing people at a stoplight. It's about building a life where money stops controlling your decisions, a life where emergencies don't destroy you, a life where retirement actually feels possible, a life where your paycheck no longer determines your peace of mind. And ironically, many people chasing the appearance of wealth end up delaying the very freedom they actually want. So before buying the next upgrade, ask yourself one simple question. Is this purchase building my future or quietly competing against it? Because the most powerful financial decisions are often the ones nobody notices. And sometimes, real wealth looks surprisingly ordinary from the outside.